The girl couldn't take it anymore as the stadium rose to their feet and the national anthem began to play. She turned around, her brows furrowed in disbelief. There he was again, an old man sitting alone in Section C, row 5, still seated. Everyone else had their hand over their heart. Everyone except him. "Why won't you stand?" she asked, loud enough for the nearby rows to hear. "Don't you respect the flag?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few heads turned. Others looked away, pretending not to notice. But the old man didn't flinch. His weathered hands rested gently on the brim of his faded cap. His eyes were fixed forward, steady, distant-like. He wasn't sitting in a stadium at all, but somewhere else entirely. His silence only made her angrier. He looked like someone's grandfather. Tall frame, but shrunken now. Wrinkled skin. Thin shoulders that had once known burden. A face that carried more than age. She expected shame. She expected excuses, but all he said was, "Because I already stood. For too many years." And then, he said nothing more. She didn't understand. Not yet. Not until the man behind her whispered, "That's Frank Keller. Look it up." Franklin Keller had stood plenty. He stood in jungles where the air choked lungs. He stood in deserts where the heat melted hope. He stood guard while others slept. He stood still while brothers fell beside him. The medals meant nothing to him. He never displayed them. Not even the silver star he earned carrying a wounded sergeant across enemy fire, twice. What he couldn't carry were the memories. Of friends he couldn't save. Of names etched into stone. Names he still sees every time he closes his eyes to T.O. Frank, standing wasn't about posture. It was about pain. He'd once stood for hours in pouring rain, refusing to leave the body of a fallen brother. When the chopper came, he lifted the man's body himself, even though his own leg had been shattered by shrapnel. After he came home, standing became harder. His knee never healed right. His back ached in ways no doctor could fix. But the real weight was deeper that he tried explaining once, years ago. People said, "You should still stand out of respect." But how do you stand for a song when you hear gunfire in the drums? How do you rise with pride when every verse echoes the names of men you buried with your own hands? So he stopped explaining. And just Saturday, he didn't need approval. He didn't seek pity. He had already given enough. The girl looked again at the old man. Really looked. She noticed the scar on his left hand. The way he held his cap like it was sacred. The tears that welled up, not in guilt, but memory. She sank slowly into her seat. And as the anthem played, others followed. One row, then another. Quietly. Without words. Not in protest, but in respect. Frank didn't look around. He didn't need to. He simply placed the cap over his heart and whispered, "They stood so I could sit." A photo was taken that night of the old man seated, hand over heart, eyes closed, and the girl beside him, head bowed, silent. It went viral in hours. But it wasn't the photo that struck people. It was the quote shared with it. "I already stood. For too many years. And for too many brothers who never came home." Another read, "Some battles never end. Some salutes are silent." By morning, thousands had commented. Veterans, widows, children of those who never came back. Stadiums began to change. Not everyone who sat was judged. Some were honored. And Frank? He never said another word about it. He didn't need to. Because sometimes, sitting down speaks louder than standing ever could. There are men and women among us who carry battles you'll never see. Respect isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent, still, sacred. Comment below where you're watching from. Tell us what this story meant to you. And if you believe in honoring true silent heroes, subscribe for more.